Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. My name is Jace Andrews. You're watching the Chiefs Report, and today we're going to be talking, or rather answering, your questions. And let's start off with my man, J.J. Hackett, with a $2 super chat who said, the Chiefs should trade for Mecole Hardman. I think they should too. The Jets kind of stink, and overall, Patrick Mahomes made Mecole Hardman look like an all-pro sometimes. I think overall, it wouldn't be a bad idea. You're going to pay him substantially less than what you were paying him. It's not a bad idea to explore the trade. I don't know how likely it would be for the Jets to trade him away back to the team that they got him from. But at the same time, I think it's kind of funny because it's obvious the Jets aren't using him. He stinks with them. So why not give him back to the Chiefs? It'd be kind of funny. Shout out to you, JJ. Really appreciate the question on if the Chiefs should trade for Mecole Hardman. Next question coming in from Jackson Boswell. He says, I don't think it's crazy to give up 2 first-round picks and a second-rounder and maybe a bit more for Justin Jefferson. If you're going to pay for someone, pay him. Yeah, I agree. I think overall that would not be that crazy to give up a couple of first-round picks and a second-rounder, especially for the simple fact that he is worth like number 1 overall pick potential. Like that's kind of what he's worth at this point. The only problem is I don't know if the Vikings are going to trade him, at least during the season. It may be in the offseason, but I don't know about now. I think overall, Chiefs beat the Vikings this upcoming Sunday. Well, that may change the mind because guess what? Then the Vikings are 1-4. They've already talked about the potential of trading Kirk Cousins. Trade your wide receiver on top of that. Chiefs could be in line. The problem is the money, and that's kind of the thing with trades, as you're going to have to create cap space somewhere. You're going to have to cut somebody. It'd be kind of tough, but it would be a cool option to see the Chiefs trade for Justin Jefferson. All right, the next question coming in here from Toney Fuentes. Shout out, Tony, saying, I'm impressed of the Chiefs wide receiver group, but they need to step up, and we need a true wide receiver 1, I believe is what you're kind of referencing. Yeah, I agree. I think overall, there's just not a clear number 1 wide receiver on this Chiefs staff. You have Kadarius Toney, who now, if you look at the depth chart, he's not even on the top 3. You have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, you have Sky Moore, and you have Rashee Rice. And overall, I thought Sky Moore was going to be the guy who was going to be the one to maybe be the wide receiver 1. But at this point, I'd almost say it's Rashee Rice who has the better opportunity. He's looked impressive. If he could just cut down on the drops, he could really have a good chance to possibly maybe up himself on the wide receiver depth chart to maybe 2, maybe 1. We'll have to see, but I agree. There's not a true wide receiver 1 right now on the Kansas City Chiefs. The next question here comes in from Chloe15, as she says, or he's saying, are the Chiefs ever just going to trade Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't understand it even more now for the simple fact that guess what? You know Isaiah Pacheco is good. You've seen that. He's proven it time and time again, and he just had his best game of his career when they gave him the opportunities. 20 carries, over 100 yards, 158 yards total. That was a career high. Dude looked impressive on top of a 48-yard touchdown run. You don't need Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They, in fact, used him more than McKinnon, it seems like, which is kind of silly because McKinnon, he's been your passing down back. He didn't even catch a single pass against the Jets. Kind of crazy. Let me know from you, should the Chiefs trade away Clyde Edwards-Helaire type T for trade or type key for keep? I don't really freaking know, man. It just doesn't make sense because if you're going to use him in the proper way. And if you're not, then trade him away. And at the same time, I don't think he's useful, so just give him up. Pacheco's fine. You'll be fine. All right, let's go to another question here, as this one is coming from Brad Richardson, saying, what you think on another defensive tackle like Jordan Davis? Well, I think it'd be nice to get another defensive tackle, but I think this defensive line has showed you that you don't really need another defensive tackle. Now, Jordan Davis obviously would be incredible, but you don't need it. This defense has been absolutely incredible. It's been the top defense in terms of holding teams to points per game. They've overall just shown time and time again that we really undervalued the defense. I got to be honest. At the beginning of the season, I'm going to be the first one to say it. I thought they weren't going to be top 25 without Chris Jones. That first game, they may have been the 3rd, 4th, 5th best defense in the entire NFL. Then they got Chris Jones back, and I'd argue to say right now, I'd put my name down on it. They may be number 2 or number 1 in the dang NFL. I'll put a signed letter on that. I think they're really good. I don't know that another defensive tackle would even help them at this point because I like the chemistry that they have with Dana, with Karlaftis. with freaking Chris Jones. Overall, it's just a good mix. This question coming in from It's Not Maddox saying, what wide receiver do you want? I appreciate you asking my opinion. It's not. Well, I kind of think overall, I would like to see the Chiefs go out and grab Jerry Jeudy. The Denver Broncos have already mentioned that he's on the trading block. And again, I think he has a similar type to a lot of receivers in the league you're seeing today that have come to the Chiefs and maybe either resurrected their careers or they've come to the Chiefs and made their careers what it is today. That was just like kind of Mecole Hardman. The reason he got even a contract with the Jets was because of the Chiefs. Jerry Jeudy is the same way. He has all the intangibles for a number one wide receiver, and he has speed, which we know Patrick Mahomes loves to use. I think it'd be a nice job, but thank you. It's Not Maddox. Do you have an opinion? Well, let me know. All right, like the video if you want the Chiefs to beat the Vikings in this upcoming Sunday matchup, as we appreciate it. Just hit that little thumbs up button. That way we know you want the Chiefs to win this upcoming Sunday. Before we get into more of your questions, I got to tell you about our sportsbook partner, BetUS, who is offering a nice 125% deposit bonus when you use chatsports.com/ChiefsBet and use the promo code Chiefs125. Again, you're going to get a 125% deposit bonus. It's free money. Go take it. It's basically like you're getting an extra and a little bit more. You're doing a lot of work there. Again, chatsports.com/ChiefsBet. Chiefs125 is the promo code. And why don't you do it on the Chiefs this week? 5.5 favorites over the Vikings. And I like that line because overall, this Chiefs defense has absolutely been really mind-boggling good. And that's the only way to put it. Now, they do have a tough challenge with Justin Jefferson, but I expect Patrick Mahomes to have a better day on offense. 5.5 is a good line. Again, use promo code Chiefs125 and go to chatsports.com/ChiefsBet for your 125% deposit on BetUS. All right, this next question is coming in from Raja Cooper saying, what wide receiver could we trade for realistically? Yeah, I think you got me there. Realistically, I don't know if there's not many options out there in terms of value because the Chiefs don't have cap space. They don't. They, in fact, barely had some when Chris Jones was not here. Then Chris Jones got out of back, and they had to restructure Joe Toney's contract to even have Chris Jones' contract in the mix. Overall, the only option to me it sounds sucky, but it's Chase Claypool. That's kind of the only option, which I don't know is necessarily a boost. I think it's just going in a lateral direction. It's tough with the cap space. I think there's ways you could work out with a couple of guys in this offseason, and potentially through the season, you just have to be willing to cut some people. And I don't know if Brett Veach is willing to cut people at this current moment with the way the Chiefs team is performing. Let's go to this next question from Shad Jameson saying, should Kansas City re-sign Donovan Smith next season? I think so. I think overall, he's been better than Jawan Taylor. I'll have to freaking tell you that. I cannot stand Jawan Taylor. As again, overall, he's been okay, but Jawan just freaking penalties all the time. I think they should sign Donovan Smith. They had the 1-year contract. Pretty cheap. $3 million. That's not that bad. I think you could probably do that. Maybe go 4 next year if you have the space for it. It's pretty cheap. He's played pretty well. He has had a couple of holding calls, but, I mean, that's an offensive line. It's just going to happen. So I think overall they could definitely re-sign Donovan Smith. All right, this next question, Random Swifty says, do you think the Chiefs are actually interested in Jonathan Taylor? Yes. I think they are actually interested just because of the numbers. I mean, you can't not be interested in a guy who has had over 3,000, almost 4,000 yards in his career, and he's only played in 3 seasons. I just don't think you cannot be interested in that. Now, do I think the Chiefs are actually going to pursue that? And even if they do, are they going to have the assets that the Colts would want? Not a freaking chance, man. I just don't see it happening. And on top of which, you have Pacheco. It's not really a use for Jonathan Taylor, especially with the money. It just doesn't make sense. This next question comes in from Don Bull. Shout out to you, Don. Appreciate it. What is the cause of Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Toney? They are not producing on the field. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is specifically coaching. The only reason he is on the field is because Patrick Mahomes and the coaches seem to like him. He's just not that good, I think, overall. I think it's a tough realization you have to come from, but he's a bust. I think it is. We're we're past the point where we've had time to see if he could be a potential top-tier running back in this league or even second string. And I don't think he's shown either of that because he's a third string right now with Isaiah Pacheco, who was a late-round pick last year. That's already above him. And Jerick McKinnon. I don't really know what's going on with him. Kadarius Toney has been injured. I'll kind of give him a bye there. I think he has, again, all the essentials to get out there and perform. He's just not doing it right now. We'll have to see over time if either of these two work out in the future for the Chiefs. But for right now, I agree. They're not producing at all. Another question coming from Toney. Appreciate you, Fuentes. Which wide receiver does the Chiefs need to trade for? It's a must-need. Most players can step up and fill in the field. Not saying but we need someone to step up like Juju. Yeah, I see the problem was Juju really wasn't even wide receiver one last year. Like, yeah, I know he kind of was, but at the same time, he really wasn't at the same time. It was a wide receiver by committee, which is what's happening this year again. Now, Juju performed well, but the dude is with the Patriots, and apparently his knee could explode at any second. So the freaking Chiefs, they made a right decision by not signing him. The dude's one step away from ending his career. You don't want to sign that to your team, especially when he didn't really add too much value. I don't know. There's not really a necessary fix to this wide receiver one problem. I think it's going to be something we're talking about all year, and we'll see if Brett Veach actually decides to make a move on it, or if he just kind of lets it go. And Chiefs are already 4-1. Hopefully, it can be 4-1. That's just the hope. All right, this question's coming in from Blake saying, should the Chiefs trade for Tyler Boyd of the Bengals if they want too much for Higgins? I like that. I kind of like that because I'm not going to say he's a wide receiver one, but he provides more depth through this wide receiver room, especially if the Bengals are asking too much for Higgins. It just doesn't really make sense overall. And they're both, again, on their last year. So you could sign them in the offseason, but Tyler Boyd, guess what? They're going to be more likely to trade him because there's not really a clear shot that they're going to get him back next year, but he's been more of a staple piece on that Cincinnati Bengals team than T has been. That's the only thing I could look at. But who knows? It's a shot. I think it's definitely time to kind of consider both those guys. All right, this question is coming in from Taylor Wilson saying, when do the coaches admit it they were wrong and sit Sky Moore and MVS and play Justin Ross and Rashee Rice? Moore sucks. MVS is overpaid for nothing. So I see exactly what you're saying with Justin Ross. I don't know why in the world they're not playing him. I don't. It kind of makes no sense. Because at the beginning of the year, Andy Reid said, I have packages for every single one of these guys on the field, all 7 wide receivers, which Richie James is now not even there, so that makes it 6. It just doesn't make any sense. Rashee Rice is actually getting more and more involved with the offense every single game. He was a 50% snap count usage in 2 weeks ago as they took on the Bears. It was 47% snap count against the Jets. So, I mean, overall, he's increasing his percentage every week. But the problem with Rashee is he just really needs to kind of cut down on the drops. That's been the tough part. He drops a lot of balls. If he could step with that, I think overall he'd be pretty good. I want to see Justin Ross more. I'm right there with you, Taylor. There's no reason why they can't use him. It just makes no sense.